This is for all my fellow perfectionists out there. This perspective shift changed everything for me. Instead of always being performance-based, having to perform and do all the time, I had to have a perspective shift to be and to focus on who I wanted to be. Now, how I break this down is instead of stopping an unhealthy habit, that can be a little overwhelming. So what I do is I replace an emotional habit that keeps circulating in my mind. So if it's saying, I have to be perfect, I have to do it all, I have to perform, I have to be an overachiever, I have to do everything on my own. This is an emotional pattern that's taking place and cycling in my mind. So I have to pause it and reshift it, reshape it. And that is where habits of hope come in, and where I will implement a perspective shift, a new emotional habit, something like, instead of being a perfectionist, I'm going to choose to show up and be passionate. That's a subtle shift that takes some of the pressure off. It makes me feel like I can breathe a little bit, because pressure can do one of two things. If you think of a rocket ship, the right amount of pressure can propel something into space. It is the force behind driving something powerful into the world. But if you think of pressure on the other end, especially for us perfectionists and us high achieving performers, pressure can become crushing. It can get to a place where we can no longer hold all the things and be all of the things at the same time. Subtle shift from being a perfectionist and having to perform all the time to, I'm going to be present and I'm going to be passionate. It allows me to enjoy the journey. It allows me to recognize that I am on a journey here, taking in maybe more unhealthy emotional pattern in my mind and saying, I'm going to shift it. I'm not going to be a perfectionist. I'm going to be present and passionate. And that shift allows me to enjoy the journey. Another thing that really helps me, for all of you high achievers, you high performers, you perfectionists out there, if you're like me, is these two words: positioning and preparation, what I call the power of pivoting. Now, this is where we surrender outcomes and we focus on preparing. We surrender outcomes. We're not attached to what happens or what it looks like or sounds like. And what we're doing is we're investing in preparation. I'm going to be, for example, I was never the best soccer player. I grew up playing what I call street soccer. I played in the desert, and it was not grass all the time. It was actually like hard stubble that would just like scrape up my knees, and I'd be bleeding after slide tackling. I was a defender. I didn't have access to trainers and fancy clubs. My dad coached me and I played street soccer. I knew I didn't have the technical skills to get a full ride scholarship to play sports in college, but that was a goal of mine, to get a full ride scholarship to play sports in college. I didn't have money. I didn't think I was smart enough. So I was like, I'm going to focus on sports. What I did is I prepared myself to be the fastest person I could be, because I knew I lacked in this other area, this other skill set, and I knew I could never perfect what I needed to with the resources and the time that I had and the support that I had. I could not match all of the skill levels that other people had been investing in since they were young. I had to stand out in a different way and focus on what I could. I could focus on speed, because I could do that on my own time. I could run in the morning. I could run at night. I joined other sports just to continue conditioning myself. I focused on preparing myself, because at some point it wasn't in my hands if I was going to get this scholarship or not. And I already knew that I wasn't going to be the most skilled candidate on any soccer team. So I had to focus on what I could. Preparation. I was preparing myself to be ready, so if a coach did come and see me, they would see that I was prepared to at least be the fastest one on the field. And that's actually what ended up happening. A scout came to watch two other players on my team, and they saw me. And that is how I ended up getting my scholarship offer, because a scout came to watch other people and recognize my speed on the field. Sometimes what we have to do is say, instead of making this perfect, instead of being a high performer in areas that maybe aren't our lane, how can we just prepare and position ourselves to be ready for when that opportunity comes? And that is what I believe the speaking business is about. It's about getting ready internally, emotionally, being about what I'm speaking about, being passionate off stage, and investing in my own mental health and wellness and in the tools that I'm sharing with others. It's not about just giving speeches, having some big personality personality, being an extrovert, being able to articulate words in a certain form, which I can do all of those things. It's about preparing off stage so that when a client reaches out, I'm ready to go. All you got to do is put a mic in my hand. What areas of your life right now can you focus on where you stay in your lane and you make that shift? If I'm not going to try and be perfect or perform all the time, I'm going to be present and I'm going to be passionate. And how I'm going to do that is by having a plan of how I'm going to prepare so that I'm positioned when that opportunity comes. Wherever you're at on your journey, keep going, keep growing, and always keep hope lit.